The Z6 II has arrived. Is it the camera that we've been waiting for as portrait and wedding photographers, and will it finally convince me to switch from this heavy beast? Let's find out. Couple manuals, I never read those. Some strap action that we don't use. USB-C, battery charger. The new battery, it has a C on the end that supposedly stands for capacity because it's 20% more capacity, but real world, we'll see if that's actually the case. All right, what really matters is the camera. All right, so at first glance, one of the things that I absolutely love about Nikon as opposed to the other systems is just how ergonomic their cameras are, and they just feel so good and solid in your hands. The same is true for the Z6 and the Z7, the whole series of Z bodies. When I first held the Z6, it just immediately felt perfect. And what's great is if you're in the Nikon world, there's really not a big learning curve on switching over to mirrorless from the DSLR. I picked this up super fast. So putting the two, the Z6 and the Z6 II side by side, it's like the same camera, except two cards. I thought it was an interesting choice that Nikon ended up going with two different cards rather than just making the decision to go SD or the CF Express. But they gave us both options, and I think that's just because a lot of people were hesitant about switching over to the new card format. Even though it's better, it's just not as widely adopted. Overall, it is a better card system though, but for people that want the SD, we have both cards. And I'm just happy that we have dual cards because now this is totally usable for wedding photographers to be able to have that in-camera backup that's necessary when we're photographing these events that really there's no do-overs for. So I can now use this as a main body, which is really exciting for me just because I love the Z6 already. So let's talk about some of the other differences and also benefits of the Z6 II. The first really awesome thing about this new system is the focusing system inside these cameras, which uses a hybrid of phase detect for speed and contrast detect for accuracy. And especially with the new firmware updates, it makes it even more powerful. Even the Z6 has gotten some crazy updates to the whole focusing system. And if you've seen my video on how to get sharper portraits, which I'll link up here and also down below for you to watch later, one of the tips in there is for DSLR users to micro fine tune their lenses. And with the new mirrorless bodies, you don't even have to do that. These focusing systems are so much better and make our job as portrait and wedding photographers so much easier, and that's what I'm all about, just allowing the technology to get out of the way so that we can connect deeper with our couples and our clients. And with the autofocus in the new Z6 II, what's unique to this is it added a new feature called AF with wide area focus. And what's awesome about this is in addition to the eye tracking that both of the cameras feature, that's super fast, snappy eye tracking, inside the Z6 II, we're able to set the area, and it has like a little box that we're able to move to say, only track the eyes within this area. And where this comes in handy is if we're shooting multiple subjects, which we typically are, such as families or couples or wedding parties, we're able to say, focus on this person over here and track their eyes. So if we have a wedding party in the background, it's not going to try to back focus and say which eye is most important. We can tell the camera, but it'll still track. And perhaps one of my favorite new features is the addition of AF Animal, where we're able to switch from eye tracking on people to eye tracking on animals. I mean, that alone was worth the switch for me. And all of this is aided by perhaps the biggest improvement in this body over this one, and that's the new dual processors. So that essentially means instead of one computer, we have two in this camera body working together to improve the focusing system with faster focusing, improving the continuous shooting speed with less buffer time, and also less blackout, which happens when you're looking through the viewfinder and you take the picture and it blacks out, which doesn't happen with a DSLR, so it's a little jarring, and this is significantly lessened with this new dual processor. The other major update is a new battery grip for this camera, which the old battery grip wasn't functional. It was essentially just for battery. The new one, you can shoot with it vertically, all the buttons are functional, and it's pretty sweet. I'm kind of still on the fence about it myself because I actually really love how small the body is and how it feels just like this without the addition of the bigger battery grip, but it will extend the battery life quite a bit when shooting something like, say, a wedding. So I might get it to test it out and see how I like how it feels. And the last major update with the Z6 II, particularly helpful for wedding photographers, is they improved the low light sensitivity by a full stop. And so this TBD with real world testing and experimenting, but it's supposed to help with finding focus in those really dark situations. So I can't wait to take this for a full test drive and see how it works. So will I be switching over to the new Z6 II versus my trusty, hefty Nikon D4 that's served me well for many years? Many pros would say, no way, I'm sticking with the DSLR, but I actually have a really good feeling about this camera, which is pretty insane considering this was a $6,000 investment, and this is $2,000. And it's half of the size and half of the weight, which you know what I mean if you've ever photographed a wedding before. And as far as megapixel goes, this is 16 megapixels and this is 24.5. So even the quality is majorly improved in this tiny little body. But how do the new focusing updates work with adapted lenses? And is the focusing system better than my tried and true method that I shared inside my Getting Sharper Portrait series? And can I trust it to get consistent results every single time on important shoots such as wedding days where there's no do-overs? These are things that I'm going to be testing out, so be sure to subscribe to stay in the loop for more videos in the series that I'm going to be rolling out. And if you have any questions about the new Z6 or the Z6 II, drop them in the comments. Let me know what you would love to see as far as testing goes, or if you've had a chance to play with it, I'd love to know your thoughts too. Drop a comment, and I will see you in the next video. So will I be switching over to the Z6 II mirrorless from my trusty, hefty Nikon D4 that's served me really well for... Well, now I am. There goes that lens.
Oh, ouch.
Oh, let's put a cap on this.
Put a cap on.